Thank you for joining us. Today we're commemorating USAID's Anti-Corruption, Evidence and Learning Week. Joining me today is Mrs. Mulima Akapelwa, who is USAID's Deputy Office Director for Democracy, Rights and Governance. I'm also joined by Maurice Nyambe, who is the Director at TIZ, Transparency International Zambia. I would like to welcome you both. Welcome to you, Maurice, and welcome
Thank you, Andrew.
Yes, and welcome to you too, Mulima.
Yes, thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
For the past week, USAID in Washington hosted the first ever Anti-Corruption Evidence and Learning Week, where they brought together experts and partners from around the world to join in virtually and discuss new data and evidence and ways to effectively measure the issue of corruption and the efficacy of various anti-corruption approaches. Mulima, can you please share with us why this is important?
Thank you, Andrew. May I just backtrack a bit before I come to the point of the Learning Week? You may know that last year, 2021, the U.S. government launched an anti-corruption strategy. And then, of course, later in the year, USAID itself developed a policy on anti-corruption. So with that background, then this week was set as a learning week for sharing and learning. And it's important to learn and know about how to address corruption, fundamentally because corruption undermines development progress across all sectors, whether it is education or health or economic growth or building resilience to climate change. If it's not tackled, corruption can undermine all these efforts. And meaningful and impactful anti-corruption, they require new and innovative evidence and learning, as well as an understanding of what we know works and what doesn't work. And particularly, this is so at the regional and country levels. So to effectively address corruption at the country level and at national level, it is important to develop effective partnerships with governments, for example, USAID with the government of Zambia, but also not only with governments, but also with local partners, as we do here, such as our partnership with Transparency International, so that together at different levels, we tackle the issue of corruption.
Thank you, Mulima. Maurice, as Director of Transparency International Zambia, please tell us what your organization does and your mission here in Zambia.
Thank you so much, Andrew. And again, I'd like to say a very big thank you to USAID for the opportunity to feature us in this program. TI Zambia basically is a local chapter of the international anti-corruption movement, which is called the Transparency International. Now, our main goal as a TI Zambia is, of course, to contribute to the reduction of corruption in Zambia, as well as the promotion of good governance. And basically, we do this through four, what I can call generalized organizational objectives, and I'll very quickly just run through them. So the first is that we are looking to effectively and efficiently play the role of the watchdog institution against corruption, as well as be the catalyst in the promotion of integrity and good governance at level of Zambian society. The second broad objective is that we want to promote constructive campaigns as well as dialogue, among various different stakeholders on the issue of corruption, on the issue of good governance, as well as issues to do with integrity in Zambia. The third overall objective is that we want to develop sustainable coalitions for purposes of joint action, which as well will seek to enhance information sharing amongst the various stakeholders when it comes to the fight against corruption. We do realize that fighting corruption effectively requires the concerted efforts of many different stakeholders in that sense. Last but not least, the goal really is to develop the organizational as well as a human capacities of different actors, that are involved in the anti-corruption fight to effectively deal with issues of corruption, issues of governance, as well as issues of integrity. So in a nutshell, that is essentially what TI Zambia is all about.
Thanks, Maurice. Mulima, how does the issue of corruption align with USAID's Democracy and Governance Office?
Well, Andre, I would say that, to establishing an accountable, democratic, and well-governed state with engaged citizenry, civil society, and private sector is an indispensable precondition. It is very necessary for countries seeking a sustainable and self-reliant development path. Without these, it's difficult for a country really to move well. So it is essential to have those to establish democratic and accountable governance. So USAID Zambia's Democracy, Rights and Governance Office, we support Zambia's democratic traditions. Zambia has had a number of peaceful elections, a number of changes of government. So it has a strong tradition of democratic change. So we support that, and also in our efforts as USAID Zambia Governance Office, we also support and nourish social and political stability by strengthening civil citizen participation at the local level, through local governance structures, strengthening those, whether it is through working with civil society and through working with the local government structures, and also working to support and advance respect for human rights. We also support free and fair elections. As you know, one of the biggest programs has been to support the elections of Zambia over different years, of course. And then we also work towards improving accountability, efficiency, and transparency in public financial and domestic revenue generation systems. And lastly, I'd say globally, USAID is transforming its policies. I mentioned earlier on about the new strategy that was launched by the Biden-Harris government in 2021, and also downstream policies by USAID and other agencies. But USAID is transforming its policies, programming, and public posture to tackle the convergence of strategic, transactional, and grant corruption that is inflicting great harm on democratic governance and undermining decades of development progress. So in this way, we work with partners such as TIZ in order to achieve some of these high strategic and policy goals. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks, Mulima. Talking about your work with local partners, are you able to share with us some of the projects that USAID has in Zambia right now?
Yeah, thank you for that. As I said, we've had a program on supporting the elections, that is through civil society, largely through the work of civil society, but also not only on elections, but also to support advocacy on various policy and legislative issues. Then we have a project, a program on supporting accountable and accountable governance for service delivery. This is working through the Ministry of Education and to some extent the Ministry of Health, so to help them strengthen their systems, the financial management systems, procurement systems, things like that, in order to be effective at service delivery in their sectors. Then we have a program that works to support independent and new media to promote freedom of expression, freedom of association. And this works with both traditional media and also those in the digital space. Then we have a new program that works to help the Zambian government through the Ministry of Finance, through the Zambia Revenue Authority, to be effective, to develop effective policies, effective administration systems in order to improve domestic revenue. Because, to have service delivery, a country needs to generate resources. So in a summary, it's local government support to elections, support to the Revenue Authority and to the Ministry of Finance, support to media, and mainly those are those programs that we have. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you so much, Maurice. As TIZ, Transparency International Zambia, what are some of the initiatives that you have undertaken here in Zambia to fight corruption, and also in line with your goals as an organization? And also, if you don't mind sharing with us, what positive strides do you think the Zambian government has made towards fighting corruption?
Thank you so much, Andrew. As TIZ, basically, we have largely adopted or taken what I can refer to as a two-pronged approach to the fight against corruption in Zambia. And so our interventions really have been at two primary levels, which is the national level as well as the local level. Let me start with the national level very quickly. So basically, we have been involved at national level in advocacy interventions and activities that basically aim at institutional as well as policy and even legislative changes that will enhance the fight against corruption in Zambia. So within the scope of that work, we do collaborate with state institutions such as the Anti-Corruption Commission, for example, the judiciary of Zambia, the Zambia Police Service, Road Traffic and Safety Agency, among others. The idea really is, to promote accountability and integrity in terms of their operations, and basically to enhance those aspects, even in terms of their operations. We have a few examples of, some achievements that we have scored with some of these entities. So the few that I can cite are, for example, we do have a research study that we conduct with the Anti-Corruption Commission, which is called the Zambia Bribe Payers Index. And this is something that we do every 2 years, and it's something with which we have attained quite a lot of success. But in the past also, within the last year or so, we have, together with the judiciary, developed service charters, or contributed to the development of service charters for the judiciary, for all courts within the judiciary. So we're talking about the local courts, the magistrates courts, right up to the highest courts, which are the Supreme Court as well as the Constitutional Court. But we also have contributed, for example, to the development of organizational policies that promote accountability and integrity within the Zambia Police Service. So basically, our national level workers, focus primarily on seeking that broad level, legislative and policy change that is going to contribute against corruption. Very quickly, coming to the local level work that we have done or that we are doing, our work at that level really has aimed at creating capacity among its citizens to hold duty bearers accountable. And this is in relation, of course, to, corrupt-free service delivery at different levels of society. And we do this through awareness raising, through trainings, as well as other customized interventions that really target citizens. But also in that context, we also make referrals for cases of alleged corruption that are reported to us. And so we've got a good referral mechanism with the Anti-Corruption Commission, and we're able to make those referrals. Lastly, in terms of some of the positive steps maybe that we have seen over the last year or so, I think for us, one of the key things that we have seen is that we have seen very visible attempts to strengthen the legislation around corruption, and really just to strengthen that legislation to help enhance the fight against corruption. And the one piece of legislation that I can cite is the Public Procurement Act of 2020. And if you look back at some of the corruption-related scandals that we have had over the last few years, a lot of them are hinged on issues of procurement. And so the putting in place of the Public Procurement Act of 2020, I think, was one positive step that sort of sought to address that situation. But beyond that, I need to say, Andrew, that I've not really seen a lot, certainly over the last few years, in terms of commitment to to work on interventions that are going to promote the anti-corruption fight, at least from the point of view of government. So we are hoping that with this new regime that is now in place, that we are going to see a lot more progress in terms of our anti-corruption fight, because I think that this is a fight that we still need to keep pushing.
Thanks, Maurice, and thank you for that. Well, we're almost about done with this interview. Mulima, do you have any closing thoughts that you might have for the people that are watching this?
Thank you, Andrew, and thank you again for having us today, and also thank you to Maurice, who has participated in this interview. And I must say, we supported some work done by TIZ in the past year or so in a number of areas to investigate, to contribute towards legislation, and to work with different entities in order to come up with good legislation, but also to monitor use of funds and to avoid loopholes. But then to summarize, I'd say, of course, as our ending remarks, I'd like to quote what the USAID administrator, Samantha Power, said, and what she said, I think, would sum it up very well. And she said that corruption is basically development in reverse. It harms long-term economic development. It scares away private sector investments, deepens inequality, and even harms the environment as a result of illicit logging, fishing, and polluting. It also disproportionately harms the most marginalized in society. It is actually fully inclusive in its malignancy. End of quote. And those are my last words that I would urge people to ponder over some of these points that Samantha Power noted, and to ponder that in our country and to work together towards fighting corruption.
Thanks, and powerful words indeed. Maurice, any closing remarks from you?
Thank you so much, Andrew. I think that was a really, really powerful quotation from Samantha, and very timely indeed, even in terms of when you look at what is happening in our times. Of course, corruption affects everyone, really, and so the onus is on all of us to see to it that we contribute to the fight against corruption in whatever way that we can. I said earlier on that the fight, the multifaceted nature of corruption requires that even in terms of the interventions that you put in place to address it, you need to involve many different stakeholders, and so all of us have got a stake to play in this regard. And I do hope that even members of the public will actually come to the fore and jump on this noble cause, because we do need to win the fight against corruption, and I'm confident that we will. Thank you very much.
Thank you to you both, Maurice and Mulima, and to everybody that's watching. We would like to urge you to please join in the fight against corruption. My name is Andrew Sumu from the US Embassy. Thank you for watching. And thank you, Maurice and Mulima, once more.
Thank you.